The quantum sensors aboard the Celestial Seeker pulsed with an unfamiliar rhythm as the research vessel dropped out of fold space at the edge of an unremarkable solar system. Dr. KX's peripheral eyes twitched with excitement, while their main optical cluster remained fixed on the data stream after 3 centuries of exploration. Something truly unique had appeared on their instruments, secondary confirmation, complete announced first observer Viara, her crystalline form catching the light from nearby monitors. The electromagnetic patterns are unlike anything in the galactic database. Dr. Krint Tax's tentacles rippled with anticipation as they manipulated the holographic controls. The third planet of this system wasn't particularly remarkable, a water-rich world with moderate temperatures and a nitrogen-oxygen atmosphere, but the electromagnetic signatures emanating from its surface defied conventional explanation. These patterns, Taxes murmured, they're not random noise, they're not even organized in any recognizable communication format. They evolving Thayer search vessels' adaptive camouflage engaged as they entered the system's outer boundary, rendering them invisible to primitive detection systems as they approached the third planet. The mystery only deepened. The surface was dotted with sprawling metropolitan centers, connected by networks of transportation and communication infrastructure. But unlike any other civilized world they'd encountered, these structures showed no standardization, no unified architectural philosophy. Fascinating, KRX whispered, directing the ship's quantum imagers toward a major population center. Look at how they build. Some structures reach for the sky, while others spread horizontally. They're not following any optimization algorithms at all. Vera moved closer to the display, her crystal form harmonizing with the ship sensors to enhance their solution. Doctor, you should see these population density readings. They're clustering together in patterns that defy social efficiency metrics. The research team spent 3 local solar rotations observing the planet's inhabitants. They were bipedal organisms, clearly tool users, but their technology level was scattered across an impossibly wide spectrum. Some still burned fossil fuels, while others were taking their first steps into quantum computing. They fought wars with primitive projectile weapons while simultaneously developing fusion power. They're advancing without any logical progression, KRX noted. In their research log, it's as if they're discovering technologies at random, driven by some chaotic internal force, rather than following the natural order of scientific development. But it was the neurological readings that truly captured KX's attention. Using the ship's most sensitive instruments, they began mapping the neural patterns of the planet's dominant species. The results were impossible. Look at these synaptic frequencies, they explained to the research team during their first formal briefing. Their brains are firing in patterns that shouldn't be stable. They're constantly on the edge of neural chaos, yet somehow this instability is driving innovation rather than collapse. The ship's AI, programmed with the collective knowledge of thousands of civilizations, couldn't make sense of the data. Either these creatures, these humans, were operating outside of every known model of technological and social development. As days turned into weeks, Darky RX became increasingly obsessed with understanding these contradictory beings. They watched as humans collaborated on massive engineering projects while simultaneously competing over seemingly arbitrary resources. They observed them create beautiful works of art that served no practical purpose yet were valued more highly than functional technologies. They're not just defying optimization. KRX realized one night, their tentacles trembling with the implications. They're thriving because of their inefficiencies. The breakthrough came when They began analyzing human entertainment broadcasts. These creatures spent enormous resources creating elaborate fictional scenarios, stories that never happened, could never happen yet. Somehow influenced their real-world behavior. They're not just capable of imagining impossible things, syntax recorded in their personal log. They're driven to make the impossible possible. Every rule we've discovered about technological progression, social development, even cognitive evolution, they're breaking. Them all. And they don't even realize. They're doing it. But it was Vera who first recognized the potential danger. During a routine scan of military installations, she detected something that sent shivers through her crystalline-formed doctor. She called out her harmonic voice, unusually discordant. You need to see this. The humans had noticed them despite their advanced camouflage, despite operating well outside the range of known detection technologies. Somewhere on that chaotic planet, someone had built something new, something that shouldn't exist yet, and it was pointing right at them. Impossible, syntax breathed. But the evidence was undeniable. Their presence had been detected using principles that, according to every known law of physics and technological progression, this species shouldn't have discovered for at least another 1,000 years, as the Celestial Seeker sensors registered multiple launching signatures from the planet's surface. Dr. KRX made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. Instead of retreating, they moved closer. After all, their mission was to study the unknown, and they had just discovered something more unknown than anything in recorded history. They were about to learn exactly why human unpredictability made them the most fascinating and potentially the most dangerous species in the known galaxy. Dr. KX's decision to capture human test subjects was not made lightly. 300 years of xenobiological research had taught them that direct interaction always carried risks. But these humans, these impossible beings, required closer study. Our containment protocols are designed to hold creatures 3 times their size and strength. Senior Security Officer Maldre assured them, his armored carapace gleaming under the laboratory lights. The specimens will be perfectly secure. The first abduction went smoothly, almost too smoothly. Their target was a female scientist working late in an isolated research facility. The quantum teleporter plucked her from her laboratory. Without triggering a single alarm, Dr. Sarah Chen, according to her identification, was their first test subject. What happened next? Shattered every assumption they had about human capabilities. Within 6 hours of regaining consciousness, Dr. Chen had not only grasped the basic principles of their universal translation matrix, but had begun asking questions about quantum field theory that made the research team deeply uncomfortable. She showed no signs of the expected psychological trauma from alien abduction. Instead, she displayed an almost predatory curiosity about her captor technology. You're using a modified Casimir effect for your artificial gravity, aren't you? She asked during what was supposed to be a basic cognitive assessment, but your field generators are operating at only 60% efficiency. I could help you optimize them. Syntax ordered 2 more subjects, captured a military strategist and a young artist. Each demonstrated equally disturbing capabilities. The soldier captain Marcus Rodriguez systematically tested every aspect of his containment cell, not in an attempt to escape, but to understand its principles. The artist Maya Patel began creating complex mathematical models, oozing nothing but the food paste they provided, spreading equations across the cell floor. They adapting too quickly, Vera warned during an emergency research council. Every interaction with our technology accelerates their understanding exponentially. The human scientist has already intuited principles of quantum mechanics. That took our civilization millennia to discover, but Dr. Syntax couldn't stop the humans. Neural patterns were revealing something unprecedented. Their chaotic thought processes weren't a disadvantage, as initially assumed their minds existed in a perpetual state of controlled instability, allowing them to make cognitive leaps that defied conventional learning models. The breakthrough. And the disaster came on the seventh day. Dr. Chen had been engaging the research team in increasingly complex discussions about theoretical physics, drawing out details about their technology. Nobody noticed that each conversation was more focused, more specific, until it was too late. The containment field collapsed at precisely 300 hours ship time, not through brute force or complex hacking, but because Dr. Chen had used their own scientific curiosity against them through carefully crafted questions. She had pieced together enough information about their systems to exploit a fundamental flaw in the field harmonics. The security response was immediate, but ineffective. Captain Rodriguez had apparently been preparing for this moment, using his military training to anticipate and counter their standard security protocols. Maya, the supposed artist, demonstrated an uncanny ability to navigate their ship's architecture, as if her mathematical drawings had been a way of mapping the vessel's layout. Remarkable, Dr. KRX noted in their final log entry before the evacuation alarm sounded. They didn't just study our technology. They understood our psychology. Every question, every interaction was gathering data about how we think, how we respond. They turned our entire research protocol back on us. The three humans didn't attempt to capture the ship as the security team had. Feared instead. They made their way to the quantum communications array before anyone could stop them. They transmitted a burst of data toward Earth data that contained not just proof of alien existence, but detailed technical specifications of advanced technology. You don't understand what you've done, Vera told Dr. Chen as security finally contained the situation. Your species isn't ready for this level of advancement. It will destabilize your entire civilization. Dr. Chen's response would haunt the research team for years to come. Ready? We've been ready. We've been imagining, theorizing, and preparing for this moment for centuries through what you dismissed as chaotic entertainment. Every story, every movie, every game about alien contact was preparation. We've explored every possibility, every scenario, not through care, scientific advancement, but through something you can't understand, human imagination, as the celestial seeker sensors detected multiple launch signatures from Earth's military installations. Dr. KRX realized their greatest mistake. They had studied humans as subjects, never considering that the humans were studying them right back, and now humanity had exactly what it needed to make its chaotic, impossible leaps of innovation. Proof that their wildest theories were possible. The test subjects were quickly returned to Earth, not out of mercy, but necessity. The research team needed to evacuate before humanity's response arrived as they prepared for emergency fold space transition. Dr. KRX made one final log entry. We came to study a pre-on civilization. Instead, we may have just awakened the most dangerous species in the galaxy. The humans didn't just learn our technology, they learned us. And I fear what they'll do with that knowledge. The High Council of the Galactic Scientific Authority had never convened an emergency session in its 12,000 years of existence until now. Dr. KX's tentacles read nervously as they faced the assembled representatives of the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. The quantum projection showed each council member in their full splendor, crystalline beings, energy constructs, and various organic forms, all united in their concern over the situation on Earth. You violated every protocol of Prion observation. The chief arbiter's thoughts resonated through the chamber. But that's not why we're here. Show them the latest. Data Doctor, the holographic display, shifted to show Earth's rapidly changing technological signature. In the mere weeks since the escape of the test subjects, human civilization had begun advancing at an impossible rate. The quantum data burst sent by Dr. Chen had sparked a technological revolution that defied all known models of societal development. They're not just replicating our technology, KRX explained, they're improving it. The containment field harmonics that Dr. Chen compromised, they've already developed 12 different variations, each more efficient than our original design. The council chamber erupted in harmonic discord as the implications became clear. Humanity wasn't following the careful, methodical path of technological advancement that every other species had taken. They were leapfrogging centuries of development driven by something no other species possessed the ability to imagine possibilities without first understanding limitations. The humans have achieved in weeks what took us millennia. Bara added her crystalline form, resonating with concern, but it's not just their technological advancement that should worry us. Look at their response pattern. The display shifted again, showing how Earth's nations had reacted to the proof of alien existence instead of fracturing into competing factions as all models had predicted. Humanity had done something unprecedented. They had unified, but not in the orderly way other civilizations did. It was a chaos-driven unity with different nations contributing their unique strengths while maintaining their distinct identities. Their military forces remained separate but coordinated. Bara continued. Their scientific communities are competing and collaborating simultaneously, driving innovation through both cooperation and rivalry. It's a completely unstable system that somehow produces stable results. The Council was shown footage of the new human defense initiatives. Countries that had been enemies for centuries were now sharing resources and technology. The humans had taken the basic principles gleaned from the Aeon technology and applied them in ways that the galaxy's finest minds had never considered. They're not trying to replicate our specific technology's syntax, explained, their voice trembling. They're using our tech as proof that certain things are possible, then finding their own ways to achieve the same results. Sometimes their solutions are crude, sometimes they're brilliant, but they're always unexpected. The display showed a human facility where they had already developed their own version of quantum field technology, instead of following the logical progression of scientific advancement. They had somehow intuited principles that should have taken centuries. To discover their method made no sense. It was inefficient, potentially dangerous, but undeniably effective. Most concerning, Vera added, is their military response. They're not just developing defensive capabilities, they're preparing for every possible scenario, including ones we would never consider their entertainment media. What they call science fiction has apparently been preparing them for this moment for generations. The Council watched in stunned silence as humans demonstrated prototype weapons that combined their primitive technology with advanced concepts in ways that should not have been possible. They had taken the basic principles of alien science and weaponized them in ways that no other species had ever imagined. We have to make a decision, the chief arbiter announced. Do we initiate official first contact and try to guide their development, or do we attempt to contain? This situation, before the Council could debate their session, was interrupted by an urgent transmission. Earth's previously scattered electromagnetic emissions had suddenly organized into a clear, focused signal. The humans were broadcasting a message not just to the celestial seeker, but to the galaxy at large. As the message played through the Council chamber, Dr. KRX felt their primary heart stop. The humans weren't begging for contact or threatening retaliation. Instead, they were announcing their presence to the galaxy, declaring their readiness to join the galactic community, but on their own terms. They'd somehow deduced the existence of the Galactic Council and were now addressing it directly. They, offering an exchange, Vera translated her crystalline form, flickering with disbelief. They want to share their unique perspectives and innovations, in exchange for galactic knowledge. But there's something else they've included, proof of a new technology. They've developed something we've never seen before. The council erupted into chaos. As the implications became clear, the humans hadn't just caught up to some of their technology, they'd already surpassed it. In some areas, the breaking point had been reached, but not the one anyone had expected. It wasn't humans who were breaking under the pressure of advanced knowledge. It was the galaxy's carefully ordered systems that were being forced to adapt to humanity's chaos. Dr. KRX realized that their original research question had been wrong all along. They shouldn't have been studying whether humans were ready for advanced technology. They should have been asking whether the galaxy was ready for humans. The Galactic Council's decision to attempt containment of Earth proved to be their greatest miscalculation in 12 millennia of UNIED governance. The containment fleet emerged from Fold space in perfect formation. 300 of the most advanced vessels in the galaxy, representing the combined military might of 1,000 civilizations. Their mission was simple: establish a quarantine barrier around Earth's solar system until humanity could be properly controlled and integrated into galactic society. They expected resistance. They expected humanity's crude but effective hybrid technologies. What they didn't expect was joy. Look at their communication patterns, Vera reported from her station. Aboard the Celestial Seeker, now serving as an observation vessel for the containment operation. They're not transmitting fear or anger. They're excited. Dr. KRX studied the data with growing unease. Humanity's response to the arrival of an overwhelming alien fleet was entirely wrong. Instead of panic or submission, their global networks were buzzing with enthusiasm. They were treating the greatest military force ever assembled as an opportunity rather than a threat. The first sign that something was wrong came when the containment fleet's quantum communication network experienced an unexpected harmonic resonance before any countermeasures could be implemented. Every ship in the fleet received a transmission that bypassed all known security protocols. "Greetings," the message began in perfect galactic standard. "Thank you for the demonstration of Fold space technology on such a massive scale. The data we've collected will be invaluable." The fleet commanders had barely processed this breach when their sensors detected something impossible. Human vessels were appearing inside their formation, not approaching from Earth, but emerging from what appeared to be artificially generated fold space. Pockets scattered throughout the fleet's deployment zone. "They've weaponized our own sensor networks," Vera realized with crystal and horror. Every scan we performed of their system provided them with data about our technology. They didn't need to develop their own fold space drive. They simply learned to hijack. Ours, the human ships, were crewed by galactic standards, retrofitted chemical rockets bristling with hybrid technology that combined primitive human engineering with reversed engineered alien principles, but their tactics defied all military logic. They maneuvered in ways that no sane species would attempt, pushing their hybrid technologies far beyond their theoretical limits. Their pilots are accepting casualty rates that should be psychologically impossible. Reported the fleet commander, they're treating their ships as expendable weapons rather than precious technology. Dr. KRX watched in fascination as human vessels deliberately overloaded their hybrid systems to create localized disruptions in space-time. They were using their own ships as sacrificial pawns, each loss calculated to provide tactical advantages that no galactic military doctrine had ever considered the containment fleet superior technology meant. Nothing against an enemy that simply didn't care about technological superiority. Humanity fought with desperate creativity, using every failure as an opportunity to learn, adapt, and overcome. But the true turning point came when the humans revealed. Their masterstroke hidden within the seemingly chaotic movements of their fleet was a pattern. They weren't just fighting. They were herding the galactic ships into specific formations. By the time anyone recognized the trap, it was too late. Energy. Spike-detected Viara announced her crystalline form, resonating with alarm. It's coming from Earth's moon. The humans had turned their entire lunar satellite into a weapon, using the principles gleaned from Dr. Chen's quantum data burst to create something entirely new. The moon's mass itself became a focal point for a quantum field that no one had ever theorized could exist. In an instant, the mighty containment fleet found itself trapped in a localized bubble of altered space-time. Their advanced drives were useless, their weapons inert. Humanity had effectively created a prison out of every fabric of space impossible. The fleet commander transmitted, "This technology cannot exist. The principles behind it were considered impossible until we proved they weren't." Came the human response, "You showed us that fold space technology was possible." We simply imagined new ways to use it as the containment fleet hung helpless. In space, Earth transmitted its terms. They had no interest in being contained or controlled. Instead, they offered a choice: partnership or isolation. The galaxy could either accept humanity's chaotic nature and work with them as equals, or Earth would use its new technology to seal off its entire solar system, cutting itself off from galactic civilization until it was ready to emerge on its own terms. Dr. KRX, watching from the safety of their research vessel, finally understood the true human factor. It wasn't their technology, their adaptability, or even their creativity that made them so formidable. It was their unique combination of reckless courage and methodical preparation. Their ability to simultaneously cooperate and compete, their talent for turning defeats into opportunities. They're not just a new species syntax recorded in their final research log. They're a new type of civilization, one that thrives on the very chaos that our galactic society has spent millennia trying to eliminate. And now we have to decide, do we risk changing everything we know by accepting them, or do we risk them changing everything on their own? The emergency session of the Galactic Council stretched into its third day as representatives debated humanity's ultimatum. The containment fleet remained trapped in Earth's quantum prison, a constant reminder of how thoroughly they had underestimated this young species. Dr. KRX stood before the council once again, but this time with a revelation that would change everything. Their tentacles moved with uncharacteristic certainty as they activated the holographic display on Honorable Council. "We've been asking the wrong questions," they began. "We were so focused on understanding how humans developed their abilities that we never asked why their evolution took such an unusual path. Now, we know the display showed a comparative analysis of genetic structures across thousands of species. At its center was the human genome, with one particular sequence highlighted. This isn't natural evolution," Vera added, her crystalline form pulsing with excitement. "The chaos in their neural patterns, their impossible adaptability, their drive to imagine the impossible. It's all by design." The council chamber erupted in harmonic discord as the implications became clear. The human genome contained markers of advanced engineering, but not from any known civilization. These modifications were ancient, predating even the council itself. They're not an accident. Syntax continued there, a safeguard created by someone or something that foresaw a threat to galactic civilization, that even we can't detect their chaotic nature, their ability to make impossible leaps of logic, their drive to prepare for every scenario. It's all intentionally engineered into their species. The evidence was irrefutable. Humanity had been designed as an evolutionary wildcard, a species capable of thinking in ways that no logically evolved civilization could match. Their entertainment, their constant imagining of impossible scenarios, their drive to prepare for everything from alien invasion to the end of reality itself. It wasn't random cultural development. It was their species executing its core programming. But the greatest shock came when the humans revealed they had already discovered this truth. Dr. Chen's voice rang through the council chamber as Earth transmitted its response. We found the markers in our own genome decade ago. We've been trying to understand their purpose ever since. That's why we reacted to your arrival the way we did, not with fear, but with the certainty that we were fulfilling our species' purpose. The council watched in stunned silence as humanity shared its own research. They had known they were engineered, but had kept it secret from their own population, allowing their society to develop naturally. While a select group worked to understand their true purpose, the threat hasn't arrived. Yet Dr. Chen's transmission continued, but our collective imagination has already conceived of thousands of possibilities we've spent generations preparing for, threats that most species wouldn't even think to fear. That's why we need to join galactic civilization now, not as subjects to be contained, but as partners in preparing for whatever is coming. The quantum prison around the containment fleet dissolved. As humanity demonstrated its good faith, the hybrid technologies they have had developed, their impossible innovations, all were freely shared with the Council. But it was their methodology that proved most valuable, their ability to imagine and prepare for the impossible. Dr. KX's final presentation to the Council wasn't about human technology or their military capabilities. Instead, they showed the vast library of human entertainment, their science fiction, their disaster scenarios, their endless imagining of both apocalypse and triumph. This is humanity's greatest contribution to galactic civilization. Syntax explained not their technology, but their ability to imagine and prepare for everything that might go wrong. They're not just engineered to be adaptable, they're engineered to help other species adapt. The Council's decision was unanimous. Humanity would not be contained. They would be integrated. Their chaotic nature, once seen as a threat, was now recognized as vital to galactic survival. As the first official human delegation arrived at the council chamber, Dr. KRX reflected on the price of curiosity their simple research mission had unveiled. Not just a new species, but a new understanding of the galaxy itself. Humanity's creators had hidden them on an unremarkable planet, allowing them to develop naturally until they were needed. Evolution's greatest guest syntax, recorded in their final log, was convincing us that chaos was a weakness. The humans show us that true strength lies not in perfect order, but in the ability to thrive in disorder. They are not just our wild cards, they're our survival insurance, and somewhere in the vast darkness between galaxies, something stirred, moving toward ordered, predictable civilizations that would never see it coming. But humanity was ready. They had already imagined this moment 1,000 times in their stories, and now they would help the galaxy prepare for whatever impossibility awaited them all.